double down on what works and forget everything else until you're at like 50 million in sales.
Yeah.
Then you got to think about, okay, we're tapping out this one channel. What else can we do? I remember, again, when I was running native, I had a conversation with Brian Lee, who is the founder of Honest Company. And he's like, your Facebook ads will get you to 40 million in revenue, no problem. Then you need to start worrying about diversification. Just be good at one thing. You don't need to be Deion Sanders and be good at baseball and football. Just be good at football. When you're an expert at that, then you can look at other sports.
Welcome to Season 2 of Limited Supply, the place for refreshingly real takes on what D2C is really like.
We're your hosts, Nick and Moiz. Let's get into it and start making money.
Growing your business is hard, but Triple Whale is all about scaling your Shopify store to the moon and doing it profitably.
Okay, what I'm supposed to read is it says use promo code SUPPLY15 to get 15% off when you sign up for Triple Whale at triplewhale.com. But I really mean DM me on Twitter and I will get you 20%. I'm going to go fight the CEO and I'm going to be like, get 20% off of these guys. So just DM me and I'll get you 20%. Let's start with Buy with Prime. Why don't you start by telling everyone what Buy with Prime is, just as a refresher?
Yeah, so Buy with Prime is basically, it just came out from Amazon not too long ago and essentially allows you to pretty quickly like click a button and it drops you into Amazon's checkout flow of whatever that product is. The pros were that you're going into like probably the most trusted checkout flow on the internet. And the con is you don't get that data, I don't think. And also, you can only add one product at a time. You can't have multiple products in a single checkout.
So just to be clear, the Buy with Prime button lives on your Shopify PDP or your, WooCommerce PDP. People click it, you're taken to Amazon to check out. You do get the information. You do get their email address because Amazon is like, look, this is your customer,
right. It's your customer
and not our customer. And I think like 2 weeks after they launched it, they created the ability to buy multiple products. Because, one of the hard parts was people wouldn't increase their basket size. Like if you were buying deodorant, you'd buy one stick instead of multiple sticks because every stick would have to be checked out with separately on Amazon. So it was really annoying. But you said somebody had gotten back to you with some results.
Yeah. So, one was the numbers. So somebody sent me the numbers and basically it's 3% of the order value. So whatever you're selling is 3% of that with a minimum of $1.50. On top of that, the fulfillment and shipping is $4.75 an order plus 8 1/3 cents per cubic foot for storage. And then you pay processing fees, full processing fees, 2.4 plus 30. In fact, they're probably making money on that, to be honest.
I'm sure they are, yeah.
And that's basically your cost out the door just to use Buy with Prime.
And so did the person that you got information from say, hey, here's how Buy with Prime worked for me versus like, my own PDP? Like, did they run an A/B test?
So I actually misspoke. It wasn't the Buy with Prime I had numbers on. It was those were the numbers I had. The interesting gotcha. Amazon tidbit, though, actually came from the same guy. Let me first read you his Buy with Prime response. He said, we're going to basically do our own version of Buy with Prime. So they're going to take paid traffic to a lander and then have an Amazon exclusive like offer. So an Amazon specific product bundle or offer that they're going to push on that lander. So they're basically, I think they're going to use the affiliate link and just get a percentage back as well. And also they'll understand like who's buying that way.
So they're driving traffic to a website that's a landing page that like links to Amazon and you click it over and you head over to Amazon and make a purchase.
Yes.
Yeah, I always like wondered what e-commerce brands should be doing here. Like, should they ever just drive traffic directly to Amazon? Like, if you send an email, should you send an email that links directly to Amazon so people are more likely to check out, or should you do it to your own website? Particularly if you already have their email address, you can already communicate with them. You don't know that they purchased again, but I think there is some value in terms of making it really easy and fast for the consumer.
Yeah, I also think, too, a huge opportunity to drive to Amazon is like people who you've repeatedly tried to get to purchase but haven't purchased on your site, but they've shown intent or, they've signed up for your email list. I think that's a great segment to push to Amazon, too.
Yeah, that is a great segment.
On the Amazon note, too, one other thing that was interesting. This guy said same-day shipping as a badge on the Amazon page has a 31% conversion rate improvement over Prime regular 2-day shipping.
Really? 31% is better. Like same day shipping means you get it the same day?
Not even that it's delivered in 2 days, but just that it ships the same day.
On Amazon? Like what does Amazon say?
Actually, it might be same day delivery too.
Yeah. It's got to be same day delivery, because Amazon's already delivering in 2 days. They're not shipping in 2 days, so it's got to be same day delivery. That makes sense because you're like, okay, I'm ready to purchase this more frequently. But I do think that there's value in terms of just having a badge on your PDP and cart page saying ships within 24 hours.
100%. Another funny one I saw was ships within 24 hours with like a slowly blinking green light, basically to say like, we're online, like we're working.
Where did you see that?
It was like a landing page for a bedding brand called Miracle Sheets or Miracle Brand. One of their landers had that. It was like, it was slowly blinking green light, ships same day, agents ready to answer questions, like very like old school stuff.
That's awesome. Let me do a little bit of structure that we got here. So one is I'd love to talk about some other great website features. Two is I remember last time we chatted about landing pages, and you were talking about some like great landing page features that you had used in the past for Hooks. And I'd love to go through a little bit of that. And then I had an e-commerce brunch yesterday.
Oh, I want to hear about that actually. You said it was the best?
The best one this year. I came out of it. I was like so angry and so pumped up. I always get angry because I'm like, I'm missing these marketing opportunities. So I get fucked. I get so upset at everybody because I'm like, this is such a great idea. Why the fuck am I not doing it? So I want to get into that as well.
Awesome.
But you talked about great web features. Maybe we can start there. You said, that feature was on Miracle Sheets.
Yeah.
One that I've seen that I think is really great is this company called Curie Bod, which, ironically sells a deodorant. I'm all over these deodorant brands. One of the features that she has is, she was on Shark Tank. Like Sarah was on Shark Tank, and she created this feature, or like, there's this plugin that she uses where she has a little bit of herself, like a video of herself that she's recorded on the bottom right of her screen whenever you load curiebod.com. And she starts by going, hey, this is Sarah. And it's so good because one, chances are you've heard about this brand from Shark Tank. So all of a sudden you're seeing the same person you saw on Shark Tank right here. And second, somebody going like this in a camera, like waving like this, gets your attention. You're like, what the hell is going on here? Yeah. I think it's really effective. I want to ask Sarah about a little bit more about the details, but I think it's a great idea and more people should do this, particularly because it builds a lot of like resonance between the consumer and the brand owner. You realize this brand is not owned by some like nameless, faceless corporation, but it's owned by a person. So I think that's a great idea. I think people should do this more often on like even customer service pages. Like, hey, I'm so sorry you don't you're about to email us. We want to help you. I'm so sorry that we made a mistake. Basically putting a face to the brand. I think it'll reduce return rates and just make your customer service way nicer, as opposed to all these people who are complete bitches to you when they email into your customer service inbox.
So it's actually powered by this company called Tolstoy. You'll love to learn that these are ex-Yotpo guys. And
get the fuck out.
It's a really interesting company. I've watched them for kind of a while. So I just opened up a deck that they sent probably like 4 or 5 months ago. And it looks like for one of the brands they work with, it has a 9% conversion uplift with just having the widget on the site. So I'm not sure if I'm assuming that's 9% of their current conversion rate went up. But then conversion uplift for people who actually press play and watch some of it goes up 160%, basically 1.6 times more likely to purchase.
That's a lot.
Quite a bit.
Whenever I see numbers in decks, I always take them with a little bit of grain of salt because I'm like, when we were trying to raise money, somebody was like, I was like, look, our repeat purchase rate sucks. It was super early in the business. And I was like, our repeat purchase rate sucks. And the guy, like this investor that we were talking to, he was helping us prepare our pitch. He's like, anybody who's purchased 2 deodorants in one package, you can count them as a repeat customer because they purchased 2. And I was like,
right.
That makes me feel very, nervous. Like, I don't feel comfortable with that. But they were basically like, you can do whatever you want. This is a deck. No one's going to diligence it. Put whatever you want here. You can say you have 100% repeat purchase rate. And I was like, I just don't feel comfortable with this. I saw this feature on Curie Bod and I was like, this is really good, particularly if you're a Shark Tank brand, because like people know your face, right? Because you were on the show and that's probably why they found out about you. Let me try and get some more information about Tolstoy because I think it's a really effective tool that these guys have.
Totally.
I think you added something on here called shopping like TikTok feed on our agenda, right? In terms of great web features.
I feel like over the last year or year and a half, there's been at least 12 or 13 startups that are doing like live video or video commerce for your Shopify site or something like that. There was one that was like an app, a standalone app called Flip or Flip It, something like that. And then there's another one that I think is just kind of like another Shopify site plugin, but both kind of create this TikTok-like experience when you shop, kind of similar to like Jesse's Kahani, where you have the stories on the site.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, I think it's interesting. I haven't run like a serious test to a store that gets a bunch of paid traffic. I think there's a huge difference between looking at metrics from stores that run a ton of paid traffic and serious like acquisition versus those that are more retail brands and they have an e-commerce presence, because that's also a very different behavior than somebody coming from an ad. But I haven't run any tests to see like what the actual lift is on a lot of these video things. I just know that there's no chance I'm watching any live video or like a long form video on a site, to buy something for $20.
I think it could be super powerful. Like there's this company called Brewmate that I'm close with and I do a bunch of advisory work with. They have an amazing brew tank cooler. Okay. And I'm an investor. Let me throw that out there as well. They have an amazing brew tank cooler that's way better than a Yeti cooler. Like, I remember when these guys were building it, they were like, we are testing 20 different types of wheels for this cooler to figure out what's the best to go through sand for a beach, gravel if you're camping, like concrete if you're in a construction site. They'd run all of these genuine tests. And I was like, wow, this seems like overkill. And they were like, no. This is it. We want like this product to be way better. Yeah, exactly. And I was like, nobody will ever be able to understand all of the amount of like research and diligence you actually did to make the tire decision here. Like, I would have just thrown on 2 tires that I got from China right out of the gate, and you guys have actually done all this work. And so I think that's something where like the video could be super powerful, where they're like, look, let us show you why this product is really good. But yeah, it's not a $20 product. It's a $300 item. So it's definitely a lot more expensive.
Did you see Clavio's launching reviews?
No, I didn't see that. You mentioned that somewhere, I think. Or
I think I might have texted it to you.
I didn't see that. I was just like, what's going on here?
Yeah. A secret agency listener sent me a screenshot of basically like their blog post for how to put on reviews and whatnot. But I think it's really interesting that they're basically trying to eat more of the kind of the features that people go out for and, creating their own like walled gardens.
Yeah.
And I bet they're going to remove they're going to just figure out ways to like not pump Okendo and Yotpo. Like Yotpo, you can fill out the review in the email. They're probably going to remove that.
That wouldn't be shocking to me. I guess like you're always sort of at the mercy of somebody else if you're so dependent on these platforms. But like,
right.
If you're Clavio last raised money at a $10 billion valuation. And I think we talked about how it's all common stock.
So
Shopify today is a $40 billion business. For Clavio to be worth 25% of Shopify, it can't just be an email business. Like, they need to grow their TAM way beyond what like just email. So I understand where they're coming from. And I think it's really smart of them. They're like, look, let's go after all the big things that exist in Shopify because, remember that conversation we had with Harley? He was like, hey, look, we're not going after, it sounded like they're not building a subscription app. And I tried to push Harley 50 times that time to be like, build a subscription app, do something for subscriptions. And he was sort of like, look, this doesn't cater to enough customers. Makes a ton of sense that Clavio is like, look, we're going to build the apps that are difficult. We've got the scale, the resources, and like, we need to grow our TAM, and we've already got the customer base, like the install base, and it's super easy. And I think that like, you and I are investors. Yeah, you and I are investors in Okendo, and you and I are also investors in Postscript. Like, Clavio was like, look, we should go after text messages next, right? Like, it makes sense because they're like, let's just eat other big apps lunches. I'm not sure if they'll constantly be able to do that because, like, it's probably better to be a company that's dedicated to SMS. You're probably going to do a better job than just a company that has SMS as a side business. But, I understand where Clavio is coming from in this respect.
Totally. Also, did you know that Yotpo has subscriptions now?
I did know Yotpo has subscriptions.
I just learned that the other day.
I don't even want to know what their pricing is. It might be 200% of the AOV. But tell me about, I guess I'd love to talk about landing page. Last time we were talking about some great resources you created for Black Friday ideas. I still remember that you're like, let's send you a Facebook event email. I'm like, I can't believe this is such a genius idea. I still can't believe it. Like, if you said that in e-commerce brunch, I would have thrown something at you.
We use that.
I should be doing that. How come I'm not doing that?
Everybody should be doing that.
So let's start with landing pages, or I'm happy to start with the e-commerce brunch. Where should we start? You tell me.
We can do landing pages. So I basically wrote out essentially the ingredients of a good landing page. I always think of a landing page as like this existing or this being, and almost like a person that has to communicate to another person. So I wrote out the ingredients here. I can just go through the ingredients and then we can just chat through them. All right. So the first ingredient is the one that I think actually 99% of landing pages miss when they're created in-house, like created by the brand themselves, which is a good angle to buy the product. So it doesn't necessarily mean like you're just selling the product, you're selling really the angle, right? So for example, with Cadence, you're not necessarily just selling capsules or containers. You're selling an easy way to travel and go through TSA with your existing routine, or the easiest way to make sure your hair doesn't dry out because now you're using hotel shampoo. So I think an angle is like the first big piece, the big ingredient.
For sure. Yeah, it seems like selling proposition is like critical in order to get a product to move.
Yeah. And then based on that too is copywriting. So I think a lot of landers, even if they do get an angle, a lot of their copywriting is so focused on like unique value props or selling propositions versus I think of it as a conveyor belt where step one is the value prop. The second person it goes to is like the customer. And then the third part of that is like the benefit the customer got out of the product's value prop. And that third part is what I think 95% of the page should be written in that POV of like, what is the benefit that they're getting? Not that it's TSA friendly. It's like you can travel with ease, or put it in your carry-on.
Got it. So you basically have to say this is a benefit for you as opposed to like generally this is why you're going to use it.
Exactly.
Have you made them for Cadence before? Have you done a landing page?
Oh yeah, we just wrapped one up with hooks. So I was referencing that.
You got to make it like send everyone the link somehow, or like when this pod drops, you got to put the link on Twitter so that everyone knows a landing page that they can get to.
If everybody listening wants this, it's a 5-page PDF I have on all these ingredients with explanations. If anybody wants it, just go to hooks.co. Yeah, I'll send it to you. Just go to hooks.co and put your email in and I'll send it to you.
Okay, awesome.
All right, so the third ingredient is social proof. Social proof is basically like, what's better than us saying that we have the best deodorant is like all these other people saying that they have the best deodorant. And so there's 3 types of social proof that I like to hit. One is customer reviews. That's like your Okendo widget or screenshots of other reviews on the page itself. The second one I call the like established sources, but I put established in quotes because depending on who you're selling to, they'll see different sources as established versus, not credible. So somebody might see like, a very young person might see a YouTuber's name with a quote a lot more established than the New York Times, whereas an older person might see like, Architectural Digest as more established than Pop Sugar. So depending on who you're selling to, put established sources, ideally with quotes or something that they said great about you. And then the third one is user-generated content. So especially if you're going for something that is like the BrewMate, you want to show what it's like, whether it's in your gym bag, whether it's in your kitchen. You want to have like this UGC, and it's not the UGC that you see on Twitter where people are like, I'll create UGC for $500. This is people who are organically posting to places like TikTok or Instagram stories, and you either screenshot it and put it in there, or you take the TikTok and just put that on the page itself. All right, so that's social proof. And then the next ingredient is basically the 5 main questions that every ad creative and every landing page needs to answer constantly until you've gotten this person all the way through checkout. And those questions are, what is this product? Why does it exist? How does it benefit my life? Why is this product the best option for this in the market? And how soon can I get it if I order right now?
The last one's really interesting because I feel like a lot of people don't do that. And I think that's what Shopify Fulfillment Network was actually trying to do, which is tell you what it is. You know what's crazy is I think a lot of people don't answer question number 1, which is like, what is this product? I can't tell you the number of landing pages I get to. And I'm like, you obviously understand this business because you're running it. I'm in e-commerce and I don't know what you're selling. And I've already looked at the top half of your website. What's going on here? Like, it's a real failure on a lot of people's part to not describe what that business is.
Totally. The next section is the shop section. So this is where somebody sees what they're getting and they hit add to cart or buy now or checkout. I like to think of the In-N-Out menu. You've been to In-N-Out, right? California burger.
Yeah. Oh, for sure.
Okay. You get there. You go to McDonald's. There's like 67 options of what you can order. And then there's 4 different ways to make it a Happy Meal or whatever combo. You go to In-N-Out and there's like 3 things you can get. And that's pretty much it. And if you're the guy that needs to, swap out ingredients, like you're looked down upon. So we like to keep it In-N-Out style, which is basically minimal. You try to do the thinking for the customer in the sense of try to get ahead of like what they're thinking that becomes an objection to make the purchase and try to answer it in there. Ideally, also, you are sharing, if it's a consumable product, you can share what's the cost per use or the cost per day. I remember with Hydrant, we did a test between a variety pack and a variety pack that said, less than $1 a day. And that one completely blew the other one away just by talking about the cost per use.
Price. Yeah.
So that's the shop section. You want it to be full of information and objection handling, but at the same time, it has to be the cleanest, easiest to follow, good hierarchy, good call outs within that section.
Yeah.
All right. So then the next one is basically, it's actually 2 sections, but I just put it together because they're kind of the same. It's basically like, how does it work and what's inside? So if you're selling a product, ideally over probably $100, you really want to include everything that's coming in the box. Because again, that's another question that people have is, well, what's in the box? The other one is like, how does it work? And so, whether it's something as simple as Poopery, the poop spray, or a deodorant, or a bottle of water, whatever it is, you want to basically just outline, like, how does it work? You want to almost answer every kind of silly question somebody could have that would prevent them from buying right there. And one thing actually that we found that's super helpful in this is you really want to cater the what's inside and how it works to the angle and the consumer that you're going after with the specific page. So one thing we do is we have this like red carpet onboarding document. It's basically a 5-page document that we have a researcher fill out every time we get a client. And it ends up being around 8 or 9 pages. And the idea is to combine like the goal of the brand. So let's say Roman says like, we're trying to sell this specific product to these type of men. Combining that goal with what we find around the internet and in our research and through their onboarding form, we'll kind of form like the how it works and the what's inside based off of that. So that helps a ton. And then the second to last spot is the brand story. So, it doesn't necessarily have to be like a founder story, although founder stories are just great for, they just make it feel more human and like somebody's actually behind the screen. But it could also just be like the efficacy of the brand that you play off of. So like Ridge Wallet, for example, is a perfect example. You don't go to their site and read about Sean and Connor. You go to their site and you know that you're getting a very high quality product. And that's what they're known for is their quality.
Yeah.
And then the last one is just simple. It's basically pixels and scripts. So everything from making sure that you have a floating CTA as you scroll, you have smooth scroll enabled. So you have that scroll animation. You're passing through UTMs from the traffic coming in and the traffic going out. You're pixeled with Microsoft Clarity, so you can actually look at like heat maps and scroll depth maps and user recordings, and then make sure all your other pixels, your attribution software, your ad pixels, Google pixels, all that stuff is on there. And that's pretty much a lander.
Remember when we chatted and we said there's a $5,000, like we'd pay someone $5,000 to make sure all of our pixels were set up correctly. I'd probably also pay $5,000 to make sure GA was optimized, like Google Analytics. Because Google Analytics is so hard to understand. I rarely use it because it's so the numbers never match up exactly to your Shopify store, your WooCommerce store. There's trust issues I have. It's not very clear how to break out mobile versus desktop, what product, the conversion rate, all that kind of stuff. So I think I'd pay for that as well, like as a separate service. Totally. I think that was a great summary about what you just put in terms of what should be in a landing page. When you were talking, I was pulling up Athletic Greens as a landing page, and they just do a great job of hitting all of that. Like they have customer testimonials, and they have like famous celebrity testimonials. Then they're like, look, we're not just greens, we're like prebiotics and probiotics. Like everything you were talking about, they did a great job of, and they do a great job also of like, there's only 3 options. There's like the regular one, the upsell, which they say is most popular, and then best value. So they're just trying to upsell you as well, which I think is a great, like they just try and bundle it. They're like, let's get you going here. Really fantastic job on those landing pages.
Totally.
You were talking about videos as well, like YouTube. What we did at Native is I put in a bunch of YouTube, like we would send out an email asking for reviews. And then we said, if you give us a video review, we'll give you a free stick of deodorant. It would cost us $10 if you sent us a video review. And your video review had to be you holding your mobile phone. You had to show the stick of deodorant in the video so everyone knew that you had it in your hand. And then you had to talk about the product. And it was so incredible because all of these people were like sitting in their house, like in their bathroom and using the deodorant. And they're like, this is why I like it. This is what I switch from. It was so personal that I think it really helped us with conversions. I remember there was one woman, I forgot what her name was. And she was like, my name's Jackie and this is my son, Thomas. And, I use Native deodorant because I just had this son or I just had a boy and, I want to be really, and I was like, wow, this is amazing. You got your son in here as well. It's such a personal moment. It's in your house. And I thought that was really, I thought that was super powerful. The one thing I think we did a really poor job of, and maybe it was just the timing, which was I was just like focused sort of on that landing page as well. And I didn't do a good job of sort of saying, okay, you've hit our landing page. We've 60% convinced you to buy. Now we need to make sure that when you Google our brand, we've got it covered. You Google Athletic Greens, and I need to make sure that like the first thing is an ad and not somebody else talking shit about the brand. Right. And then also not just Google, but also on YouTube. Like what we did not do is we didn't like when we launched for the first 3 years of Native, I didn't have any YouTube influencers, or I probably had maybe two. And so when you Googled or when you looked on YouTube and put in Native deodorant, you didn't find anything. Now I feel like that's a really important part of the conversion cycle because people are like, I want a product review. And the way to get a product review isn't actually to search for it on Google. It's to search for it on YouTube and listen to an influencer talk about it. And so today, if I was starting a brand, I would go and hire 5 influencers and pay them each $100 to create YouTube videos about my product, just so that when someone searched Native deodorant on YouTube and it was a young brand, people would be like, okay, someone's tried it. Let's see what their experience was like.
Yeah, totally agree. I think same thing goes for TikTok. TikTok is becoming such a big search engine.
Shit, are you serious? TikTok has, I've never even searched TikTok. Really? I just thought it was this. The only thing I've done on TikTok is this.
You should go open up TikTok and search Native deodorant, and you'll probably see at least 1,000 videos.
Wow. That's bananas.
Yeah.
I'm glad you said that because that's really not a place that like a lot of brands are probably thinking about owning from a search perspective,
It's not. And the other thing too is like TikTok is also pushing in SEO actively. So like convincing your customers to make a TikTok review and also writing out a few points of why they like it, that would probably go a long way over the next, 12 to 18 months.
Okay, yeah, that is great feedback.
Growing your direct-to-consumer business can be tough. Having out-of-date or inaccurate data makes it even harder. That's why I'm using Triple Whale. Their customer insights, attribution, and profit tracking means I can scale my Shopify stores to the moon.
Get a walkthrough on how Triple Whale can help you scale your store. Use promo code SUPPLY15 to get 15% off when you sign up at triplewhale.com. Or you can DM me on Twitter and I'm going to fight for 20% off.
Let's talk about the brunch.
The brunch was great, because everyone there was all like either an owner of the brand or on the marketing side. And so sometimes we talk about like 3PLs and customer service, and there's always different scales, right? Like, sometimes I'm like, look, let's get a bunch of seed stage companies together because they're going to be able to help each other. And sometimes I'm like, let's get a bunch of publicly traded companies together because they're going to be able to help each other. The chances are the CEO of like, Allbirds isn't going to be super helpful to somebody who's just launching their brand because he's like so far removed from that at this point. So I was trying to like do a little bit of that, although, there'll be a couple exceptions here and there. And so yesterday was all CMOs or marketing guys. And so the first thing we talked about and the last thing we talked about was Facebook ads. And we're like, what's working on from a Facebook ad perspective? What's working from a direct mail perspective? Are people scaling Snapchat or Pinterest or TikTok ads? How much are people spending? It's Advantage Plus shopping campaign. Like, Facebook is pushing these Advantage Plus shopping campaigns and telling everyone to spend over 50% of their budget on Advantage Plus, and most people aren't getting there. And so that's why it was super interesting. And one of the things that, there were 2 brands that are just opened up brick and mortar stores, one in West Hollywood and one in Santa Monica. And so it was interesting to find out what the economics were like how many sales do you need in order to make a brick and mortar store super profitable? I don't want to reveal names just because I didn't get anyone's permission, and I try and keep the brunches pretty confidential. But like, one of the guys is like, look, I want to do something really special with the store. Like, we need to get people in the door. There's a lot of foot traffic. How do you convince that foot traffic to walk in the door? Can you have like cornhole outside to get people to do it? Like, can you have games outside the door so that people get excited and they're like, well, this isn't just foot traffic anymore. This is actually getting people to walk in the door and make a purchase. Like, I don't know, throw a dart and get 20, like, you can get 10% off or 20% off or something to that effect. So I thought that was really interesting that people were doing that, and like, great, because, a lot of stores are just like, we're here, somebody please come in. And these guys were like, let's get people in the door in an interesting way. The other thing that I thought was really interesting was that a couple of these brands, I wish I'd known this before Black Friday, because I think it would have been a great Black Friday hack, is that they launched these promotions and they're like, win a free, vacation to Hawaii, which isn't that uncommon, but these guys had done more custom things. And then they ran a lot of paid traffic to it. And they're like, put in your email address and get one entry, make a purchase. And every dollar that you purchase, you get an additional entry. So if you purchase $100, you get 100 entries. They're like, we ran paid traffic to the ad, and the paid traffic was super profitable because we got a bunch of email addresses, and that filled up our retargeting funnel, and it also filled up our email funnel so we could hit these guys with Clavio emails. And people were like, oh, I should buy more of these, or the more I buy, the more entries I get, so let me go ahead and buy more. But like, the prices weren't a gift to Hawaii. The prices were something worth $50,000 or $100,000. And so it's larger businesses doing this, and large businesses were like, look, we're going to spend $1 million on ads running to this landing page to try and get email addresses and sales. And so the $100,000 gift that somebody will win isn't that big of a deal because we're spending $1 million on ads. You can't do it if you're like, we're giving away this $100,000, we can't give away a Bugatti and then be like, we're spending $500 on ads. The Bugatti costs $3 million. You can't afford that. But you can if you're like, look, we're going to spend $1 million. So it's good for larger brands, but like, you can if you're going to spend $1 million running ads to a landing page saying, hey, win a free, $100,000 gift, and we move forward from there. And so I thought that was a really interesting landing page. There was this thing that I used to do at Native where I remember the lottery got big one time, and I think it's like the Powerball is like $1.6 billion this week or something like that. And we took this, we'd buy, $20 of Powerball tickets and put on Instagram and say, if you like this post and tag a friend and we win, we will share the proceeds. We'll share the proceeds with anyone who likes this post and tags a friend.
That is genius.
We had like 400 Instagram followers at Native when we did this. And then we got 2,000 comments on this post. And it cost us $20, to get all that type of engagement because we just posted. And people were like, okay, I see what it is. And the chance of winning are none. But like,
why
nothing.
Not? Yeah, exactly.
And it's also fun to tag a friend. Like if I saw that, I would tag you because it's like, look, this is a fun thing to do. It's not me trying to get you to buy something. It's me trying to be like, let's all win a ton of money, which we have no chance of winning, but it'll be a really good thing to do.
That's one thing I think I love seeing in the wild is where are the opportunities that actually don't drive friction. It's like, it's something they're going to do anyways, or it wouldn't cost them anything. It wouldn't really take anything, whether it's time or resources or money, that you get their opt-in or you get them excited about.
Yeah, really hard to get that done.
The shopping giveaway with the trip is also really interesting. I've found that before when we had tried to run a contest of basically just enter your email, the quality of traffic you get is pretty shitty. They'll never open your email again. They're just freeloaders.
Yeah.
But I think this way, because they're buying, and they're basically probably buying at a higher AOV, so they're trying to get these tickets into a raffle. And the $1 a ticket is genius because in your head, if you're like, I got 100 tickets, my chances are pretty high. That's just the common thought.
Yeah. I mean, you're like, okay, let me go ahead and buy this. There's another reward where I might end up winning this thing.
Right.
It is a great idea. And I thought that was really smart. And they were just they ran into qualified traffic to try and keep that stuff high as opposed to just freeloaders. And you're right. I've done a bunch of these with freeloaders. I once did it with Cosmo magazine at Native, and they're like, we're going to get 2 million entries. And I was like, wow, this is amazing. Your Cosmo magazine. I've got no idea what you guys are going to do. So that sounds good. And then they got us 40. And I was like, you guys have no idea how shitty your brand is.
Yeah.
You weren't even off by one order or 2 orders of magnitude. You are useless. I cannot wait for this brand to die. When you die, when Cosmo has a funeral and there's a gravestone, I'm going to go urinate on the gravestone of Cosmo magazine because you guys don't understand. You guys got me 40 of these. I think I remember the same thing happened with Inside Hook. We used to do this. Actually, we did this once really well at Caskers. I'm not sure why I didn't mention this. So Caskers was my first business. We sold alcohol online, and we said, we're giving away a free bottle of Pappy Van Winkle. Sign up, put in your email address, and we're going to select somebody to win. And Pappy Van Winkle, if you're not familiar with it, it's like this bourbon that is really hard to get in the United States. Everyone loves it. You can buy it for $300 a bottle. They release them in November. They release 5 bottles per state. You can buy them for $300 each, but on the secondary market, they sell for $5,000. It's like a ridiculous markup. And nobody can even, it's even hard to find them for $5,000 on the secondary market. You got to know a guy who knows a guy. And so we did this where we're get a free bottle of win a free bottle of Pappy Van Winkle, give us your email address. And I think we did ones where get an extra entry if you purchase on Friday or something to that effect. And it was super, super helpful for us. Huge open rates, huge, opt-in entry. Everyone wanted to sign up for it and it was right on brand for us because if you wanted a bottle of Pappy, you probably liked the other liquor that we sold. And so it was a good way to get you into the door and try and sell you something else. It's not always possible for every brand. I keep thinking about what would we do at Native to replicate this? And I can't think of anything that would be similar. But if you are a brand that where there's a really high value product in your category and you can, offer that's really fantastic, then you can do it and have the economics make sense.
Yeah. Incentivizing purchase, I think, can be good as long as they are purchasing. Or incentivizing, a first party data is always good as long as there's a purchase behind it. But yeah, I remember running some stuff with the Skim or just even a collective of 5 other brands. And they're we're going to send traffic here. And everybody's going to, drive 10,000 signups. We're all going to get 50,000 emails. And it's just the worst traffic quality that are never going to buy again.
It can be very, very poor if you don't do it well.
Yeah.
My friends at Japan Crate also, let's go into the Twitter questions in 1 second. My friends at Japan Crate also did something like this where they're we're going to give a trip to Japan, 2 business class tickets. And basically they were they sell a box where they're it's a subscription box where you get a bunch of products that are from Japan that have Japanese, you don't even know what you're it's candy and drinks and sodas. And there's a bunch of Japanophiles. And so they love these items. But for you and I, we couldn't even read what it is, right? Here's a soda. I don't know is it orange flavored or bubblegum flavored? I'm going to know when it touches my lips. Right. But, they were basically we're giving away a free trip to Japan. And that was a great, sign up feature for them. Yeah, but okay, let's get to the Twitter questions.
Okay. So I tweeted out and said, we're going to take some questions. What should we answer? There's actually a few that I wrote down here. So how effective is paying for sampling of your brand? Did you ever do that at Native where you paid for sampling?
We give them to FabFitFun, for instance, and we pay FabFitFun $1. And
I don't think it's even that. I think it's you pay a firm that basically says I've seen this with Honest Company, which makes sense.
Yeah.
But, they have this thing where it's you can basically commit to getting a free sample in exchange for a review. But it's there's no real guidelines to write the review. But it's some agency is making money. They're moving sample size product and they're just collecting a ton of emails out of it.
Yeah, Amazon has this as well, where they're we'll give away, products through our Vine influencer program, and those people will write reviews, and basically, you're going to get a 4 or 5 star review. If your product is garbage, it'll be a 4 star. If it's good, if it's okay, it'll be 5 star. If it kills me, it'll be a 3 star. And so we never did any of that. Although there are I still know of and hear of a bunch of backdoor Amazon review things where basically, there's 100 guys in a network. All of them are told, hey, if you purchase this on Amazon, you'll get a Venmo to make for the cost of it and leave a 5-star review. And so that still exists. We never participated in any of the reviews that you're talking about where we give a free product to get a free review. We're we're just going to sell this product instead. We'd rather have the money. But I know that P&G does a bunch of that, especially with Pampers. Pampers is big because they get you in hospitals. So P&G does a bunch of sampling in hospitals or even giving away free diapers to hospitals so that if you're a new mother and you're oh, wow, the hospital gave my baby boy Pampers. You know what I should do when I get home is use Pampers.
Yeah, it's that easy signal of trust.
Yeah, yeah. I've never seen anyone do it very successful. I've never seen that be a massive channel for anyone.
Yeah, I don't think I've actually ever seen it work well. Especially when they're hounding you to do a sampling program, it's usually never good.
Yeah.
All right, so this one came from Dahlin. Thoughts on Liquid Death's strategy of sending checkouts from their site to Amazon to boost their sales velocity in organic rankings?
I'm not sure if they boost their Amazon, like their organic rankings, because I think it goes directly to the PDP. So like, boost their organic rankings in terms of like being number one seller, but not in terms of the SEO, because it doesn't go to a search page. To be honest, I think they do it because it's cheaper to ship through Amazon probably with them than it is like to ship a 12 pack of water directly to your door through their own 3PL provider, which would cost a fortune. I think that's why they do it, but I'm not positive. I think it's a smart strategy. Like, it's really hard to make a liquid product work, like, Olipop and all those types of businesses. And so I understand why you go to Amazon if you're one of these big businesses.
I think it's for a few reasons. I think number one, like you said, shipping water is insanely expensive. Yeah. And shipping any liquid for that matter is very expensive. The second one is a direct-to-consumer beverage business requires a pretty solid like operations and let's not fuck this up person. It's very hard to do that if you're trying to move quick. And I think their strategy too is heavy retail, live events. Their whole thing is like, we want to be where the party is. So I think they just deprioritize. Like they don't need to build a Shopify store if they can just send people to Amazon. Like that's what their focus is.
And that's the right focus too. Like I see them in a bunch of brick and mortar stores. I see them at every event now instead of like bottles of water. It's a great idea. Like they're like, look, double down on what's working, and what's working is events and brick and mortar, and what's probably okay but not amazing is on like direct to consumer sales. So they're like, okay, why are we going to spend a ton of time on this?
Yeah.
So I think that's their MO.
Totally. All right, the next one from Josh. Best use case of creators from your current portfolio. So maybe like brands you've seen, brands you've invested in. How are they best using creators?
Yeah, I feel like you've got a great, like Chamberlain Coffee and all those things. But BrewMate has done like limited edition drops with influencers that have gone really well for them. And I'm not sure, I don't know enough about the details of like, okay, this is how they select an influencer, but they're not like the Kim Kardashians of the world. They're like influencers, I've kind of heard of, but they'll have, or like, 40,000 or 100,000 followers. And they're like, hey, we're doing this drop with this influencer, and it sells out in a quarter second. And so they've done a great job of it. But I would imagine you've got a much better answer to that, because so many of the people you work with such amazing influencers. Like I remember you were in Barcode, and with Barcode was like, wasn't Kyrie Irving, Kyle Kuzma.
Yeah. I think there's a few ways. One is like you have the Chamberlain Coffee style, right? Like co-founder / face / top of funnel. The other way, and that's like expensive either in equity or in fees or both.
Yeah.
I think the most accessible use case is either product drops or product collabs. Like we talked about the Sniff one. Today I talked to the head of partnerships at Crocs, and she was saying basically the same thing Sniff said. Like it's a great way to reach a new audience, and it's a great way to capitalize on somebody who already likes your product too.
I think for bigger brands like Sniff or for Crocs, it's great to remain relevant too. Like Crocs are irrelevant, except they're like, they did one with KFC that like we're supposed to smell like. Have you seen this one with the one with KFC? Yeah. I tried to buy them because I was like, Crocs are ridiculous. These have like little chicken wings on them. Yeah. And they're supposed to smell like fried chicken. And I was like, this is amazing. And they sold out in 1 second. Like, Crocs is an irrelevant brand, but when it's able to do these types of partnerships, it becomes super relevant right away.
Totally.
And like the same thing with like Taco Bell. Like you're like Taco Bell, and then they did those Doritos things, and you're like, okay, this is a pretty good idea now. And I think that they're doing a great, like, if I were Reebok, I would start doing Reeboks with everybody. I do Reeboks with Sniff. I do, to be like, look, we're a young brand again. We're relevant again.
Yeah, we're cool. Yeah, I totally agree. I think that's a huge one. But I think the easiest way to do it is like, and this doesn't even have to be huge influencers, people with followings, but like go find people who love to create content, even on TikTok. Just like search for people who are just creating content because they love creating content. Shoot them your product, have them make content for you, and run it from their handles or run it from their accounts or run it as a Spark ad on TikTok, and just like whitelist their profile with their content. That I think is the easiest way to use creators in a way that's like pretty high probability it's going to work. It's going to work at least better than whatever else you're running in most cases. But it also just makes your brand, again, feel cool.
Yeah, there used to be some marketplace where you could whitelist ads with like famous people. So you could like get Derek Fisher. I remember Derek Fisher was on there, and I was like, wow, this guy played for the Lakers And I think he did some weird stuff, but I was like, wow, you can get access to Derek Fisher's Facebook page and Instagram account and run ads through as Derek Fisher. And I was like, wow, that's pretty crazy. And like,
that's wild.
You can target like his audience, right? And his followers. Right. And for a while, like, you'll have success. Like, he might be like, look, I've got 1 million followers on Instagram. That's a decent amount of money you can spend for a bit and get a bunch of sales from them. So I think that there is a bunch of value in those types of collaborations, and particularly whitelisting.
When I was at Hint, we started working with this YouTuber named Sarah Dici, and we paid her to create content, and we started running the ad from her page. So the ad itself had such a longer shelf life coming from her page versus the brand page. And secondly was the click-through rate was so much higher coming from a person versus coming from the brand, right? And it's like you either have content that also feels native in the feed when creators make it, but also has a higher click-through rate as a result versus like just a billboard in your feed.
Great point. Just one other touch point on collabs. There's this company called Naked Wines. I'm not sure if you've ever heard of them. They do like wine subscriptions.
They're here in New York.
I think their number one like customer acquisition channel is like inserts in other companies' boxes. Like they reach out to us a native and they're like, hey, can we put an insert in all of your boxes? And we'll pay you like an $88 CPM or something like that. But they're like, we don't advertise on Facebook. All we do is put inserts in other people's boxes.
Oh, I was thinking of a different brand. Yeah, this brand is interesting. There was this thing that I was thinking about the other day, which is like, you don't need 7 channels of advertising to win or to like make, $5 million, $10 million. You just need to double down on one thing that you're really good at. In their case, it was the box inserts. I think for other brands like Liquid Death, it's retail and events. For some of us, it's Facebook. But you just got to get really good at one thing.
I couldn't agree more with that. Like double down on what works and forget everything else until you're at like 50 million in sales.
Yeah.
Then you got to think about, okay, we're tapping out this one channel. What else can we do? I remember, again, when I was running Native, I had a conversation with Brian Lee, who is the founder of Honest Company. And he's like, your Facebook ads will get you to 40 million in revenue, no problem. And I was like, wow, I wasn't sure when they would end. And he's like, then you need to start worrying about diversification. When, I think we were doing like 5 million a year at that point. And he's like, why are you worried about diversification now? Just be good at one thing. You don't need to be Deion Sanders and be good at baseball and football. Just be good at football and shut up and you're going to be, when you're an expert at that, then you can look at other sports.
Seeing other brands take risks on new channels and then crush it is also pretty interesting. Like seeing a brand test TV and just see it work. And now it's like they've just added so much scale, efficient scale to their marketing stack.
Yeah. And like, all that stuff takes time and dollars to test and make sense. So like, that's why if you're good at something, double down on it until you've got the time and resources to do more. Don't be like, you know what? Facebook is kind of working or TV is working or brick and mortar is working. Let's do these 3 other things and see what else can work. Like you just don't have the resources when you're a young business that's doing under 20 million a year in revenue.
Agreed.
Okay, let's take one more Twitter question. And I know what it is, which is, why did you shave the beard? What happened to that thing?
All right. The beard shave was
like,
accidental.
you're no longer a mullah. Like, we had a meeting at the mosque on Friday and we're like, get this guy out of here.
So, that dinner series we go to in the Upper East Side?
Yeah.
He was throwing a holiday party or a Halloween party.
Yeah.
So I was like, all right, I gotta trim up this beard. I've been pretty lazy about going to get a haircut. Somebody actually recommended just getting the barber to come here, which sounds pretty baller to me. But anyways, I was trying to trim the beard, just like clean it up a little bit. And I kind of went a little bit too close to the chin, and the spot it got, it was just, there was no going back from there. I literally stared in the mirror for like 3.5 minutes because I was like, it's been over a year that I've just had this beard here. And now I've got to take it all off for this Halloween haunted house party.
Okay, gotcha. Well, that's a good reason. I've done that a couple of times myself. And here's what you do when that happens. You create a handlebar mustache.
Yeah.
You got to go with the handlebar
I debated
mustache.
that too. I debated it.
It's so bad at. Like, everyone finds you repulsive except yourself, where you're like, I'm the coolest guy in the world. It's such big dick energy to be like, look, I have this handlebar mustache. It is repulsive to everybody, and I couldn't care less.
Yeah, you gotta make sure every time you see somebody, you gotta go, hey, brother. And that's the only thing you can say with a handlebar mustache.
Especially at dive bars in New York City. You have to be like, hey, brother, can I get a Busch Light?
Yeah. Let me get a Heineken.
Yeah.
All right. That was a pretty fun pod.
Yeah, this was great. I liked it because we had less of an agenda going in. And
yeah, no agenda. Hey. I'm curious what people are going to think, because I think a lot of the feedback I've gotten is people love how fast-paced and on time this thing is, but Ben's not here, so we had no police. So we've just kind of done our own thing.
Took it our own pace.
You can blame Ben. If you don't like this, blame Ben.
All right. Awesome. Appreciate your time, guys. Looking forward to episode 6 coming up next week. Thanks for tuning in. We'll be back next time to cut through the noise in CPG, retail, and e-commerce.
And if you enjoyed this episode, then why not share it with a friend? And be sure to subscribe wherever you listen so you don't miss the next one.